Hello, everyone. Let me get on here. Nope. Oh no. Oh, is my webcam being stupid today? Oh no. Hopefully I can fix this. One second. My webcam's being weird and not showing me. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Now I can fix this. There we are. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Wait. Where's my music? Let me put on my music. Can I put on my music again? There we go. You have that music there. How is everyone doing? I hope everyone's doing good. I hope everyone's doing well. Welcome. Hello, heart to everybody. Hello, HLW, Miss Wicked Wolf, Admiral Paco, Nikana, Cappuccino Crafts, Aeronaut. Good to see you, Aeronaut. It's wonderful. Corey, good to see you. Cappuccino Crafts, Every Fairy Dies, Nightbot. Good to see you, Don Nicholas. Good to see you. Thank you so much for all. Good to see everybody. Hello, everyone. Yes, for those of you who are new to this, just a quick, just announcement, just to let everyone know what this is. First off, happy 2022. I know this isn't my first, stream of the year, but, because I did one last Saturday for my normal video game stream, but this is the first chat stream of the year, so hello to everyone to the first chat stream of 2022. So yeah, this is the chat stream every single Thursday for about an hour. I just talk about whatever all of you want to talk about. So if you have super chats, things like that, I answer your questions. Super chats are appreciated. They help me pay the bills, and I give you a heart if you give a super chat, and I obviously answer your question. But if you don't have any super chats, that's totally okay. I try to keep up with the chat and respond to as much of the chat as I possibly can. And we just hang out and we talk about whatever anyone else wants to talk about. Otherwise, I just hang out with you, and Every Fairy Dies. Congratulations! That's wonderful! My sister's gonna have a baby. Oh, that's wonderful, Every Fairy Dies. Congratulations! Sending congratulations to you and your sister. That's absolutely wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. That's some good news going into 2022, because it's sadly not all been great news this year so far, but overall, that's good to hear. I guess that's the best way to put it. And hello, Evelyn. Good to see you. Let's see. Oh, first time joining a stream. Arrow Hayes, heart to you. Welcome to your first stream. I hope you enjoy your first stream. I hope you're having a good time today. All right. So, and sorry, by the way, this normally my streams are at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but I'm actually super busy today, and I actually have a few things that I'm going to be doing after this stream, so hence why this is a little bit earlier than normal. Normally, it'll be at 6 p.m. Next week, I'll probably be back at 6 p.m., but this week, just because life busy and never ends, I'm doing it a bit early this week, so apologies for the slight change up in time if people are, like, weirded out by the time change. That's just the reason being. But I see a couple super chats. Let me just answer those real quick before I keep going with the chat, everyone. Heart to you, Temple of Time. What's your opinion on Chris Chan? What's the best way to talk about this? I think the entire situation with Chris Chan, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on Chris Chan. Chris Chan did some horrible stuff, quite obviously. I won't get into the specifics. You can look it up if you want to. It is what it is. The whole situation is absolutely atrocious. People goaded Chris Chan into being horrible, abused Chris Chan online, but obviously Chris Chan was also dealing with mental health issues as well and was in not a great home situation or online situation, so there's a lot to talk about with Chris Chan and that whole situation. In fact, let me see if I can pull up the video that I watched that was actually, I thought was a really good take on Chris Chan, because it's something that, like, I don't have the stones to really do a really good analysis of right now on a live stream, because I'd want to be careful with that. But there was a video that I saw that, like, really analyzed the situation with Chris Chan really well. Basically, I just don't think there's any good people in that entire situation with Chris Chan. I really think that that's basically the answer to that. Like, people treated Chris Chan like crap, goaded Chris Chan into stuff, but obviously Chris Chan had mental health issues and was in a terrible toxic situation and did horrible stuff as well. That's probably the best way I can oversimplify it. I can't find the video that I watched. It was months ago. I'll see if I can find it, and I can share it later on if I can find it. But there was a good video that analyzed the situation with Chris Chan that I thought was a reasonable take on the whole thing, but I can't find it at the moment. It's not in my history immediately, so apologies on that. But yeah, go. There are other places to check up on that story than me, because I don't want to get into the weeds on that, because I don't remember the specifics. It's been too long, and it's been too long for me to remember the specifics of the case, and it's a minefield of a conversation anyways, so. But Adrian, heart to you, thank you so much for your super chat to move on to, well, I guess this isn't happier stuff, but RIP Bob Saget and his half-baked cameo as A-Matt. Yeah, unfortunately, both Betty White and Bob Saget recently passed away. You know, I was never a big Full House fan. I used to watch it when I was younger, but Bob Saget was just a staple of that. And, you know, he was one of those, like, insult comics, like, comics that, like, was very edgy, and kind of, like, his persona was being a jerk on stage. But from all accounts, from what I heard, he seemed to be a decent guy. I mean, I didn't hear anything, like, for all his edgy humor, I never heard anything like Bob Saget was a terrible person. And seemed like to just be a kind dude from all accounts that I heard. So it is unfortunate to hear of his passing, but from what sounded like he passed peacefully. And, you know, he lived a very full life, so it's not great, but it's not as tragic as it sadly could have been, I guess, is the only solace, I guess we could say. And the same with Betty White. Betty White, fantastic human being. Like, front to back, like, hilarious comedian, great commentator, like, up until her dying day, she was, like, up and about and doing things, and like, I hope I have half as much energy when I'm half of Betty White's age. And so it is a great loss, but again, like, she lived a very full and wonderful life, and I don't think she could have asked for, I mean, we could have asked for a more fuller life to have seen someone live. So again, sad and heartbreaking, but, you know, it's part of life. And sadly, thankfully, not as tragic as, again, could have been. I guess is, again, not great, but it's the only solace to really take from moments like that. It is what it is. George Carlin is also an edgy comedian too. Like, edgy, that's the thing that people seem to think with, like, Louis Man Gaming was saying that, like, that's the thing that people don't, like, get about edgy comedy is, like, edgy comedy can be well done. And as long as it's, like, directed at the correct targets. And It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is, like, my go-to example for good edgy comedy versus something like South Park, which I feel today is not good edgy comedy. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is very edgy comedy. Those characters say really horrible things. I'm like, oh damn, they said that on television, sort of comedy. And yet, what they always make clear with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is the people saying it are the joke. Like, they are the terrible people. We're not supposed to agree with what they say, and we're supposed to find what they say to be insulting, and they never get glamorized in any, like, the lives that they live are horrible, and we're supposed to understand them as horrible. Like, I don't want to live like the It's Always Sunny people. They live horrible, terrible lives because they're horrible, terrible people. And that's kind of the line that some other shows kind of mix up. Like, you look at something like Rick and Morty, where I love Rick and Morty, don't get me wrong, it's a fun show, and it has really good stuff to say, but there is a certain thing that people can miss with the critique of that show, that Rick is a lonely, sad guy in that show, if you really look at it. But the show isn't clear enough about that sometimes, especially in earlier seasons. Later seasons, it does a little bit better about it. But in earlier seasons, it tends to, like, glamorize Rick's stance on life and his situation and show him, like, better than everyone else and smarter than everyone else. So he kind of gets a little bit glamorized, and so people, like, identify and say that Rick's behavior is appropriate. Where it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it always makes that clear. Whereas George Carlin, he kind of has a slightly different take on edgy comedy, where he is edgy, but he, like, very much makes clear, like, he is not the butt of the joke. He is a smart, his persona is like, I am smarter than you, but he always targets his derision at people, punching up at people, as opposed to, like, someone like Dave Chappelle, which is his own whole discussion. He also does edgy comedy, but he doesn't punch up. He punches on minorities a lot of the time, and sideways, and he's not as deliberate, I think is probably the better word, with his criticism and understanding who actually is holding power in certain situations, which I think is what separates someone like George Carlin from Dave Chappelle, in my opinion. And that's not to say Dave Chappelle doesn't have good takes sometimes. You know, I feel like when he attacks, like, white supremacist views and things like that, and that sort of thing, I think he does have decent takes. It's just when he attacks LGBTQ people, he just does not understand intersectionality and how those things intersect with many different marginalized experiences. There we go. So yeah, that's random night. I didn't expect to go off on edgy humor. But that's my quick and hot take on edgy humor. So there you go. Oh, basically, Perdo, heart to you. Thank you. Welcome to your first live stream. It's good to see you. I hope that was a decent take on edgy comedy. I didn't expect to go off on that, but there you go. John Vinnels, heart to you. It's good to see you, my friend. You said, do you think any finches of Orca's Island ever interacted with Greenbrier from Arbor Hill? I am very sorry. I legitimately don't know what you're talking about, John. I am sorry. I'm sorry that your super chat is finches Orca's. Is that like a? Is that a Forgotten City reference? Because I am legitimately not sure. Because I know, John, you love Forgotten City. So apologies if that's a Forgotten City reference. I legitimately do not. So I'm just gonna give you extra heart, my friend. Sorry about that. Let's see. I could never get into Always Sunny, says Jonathan Peterson. That's fair. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's by no means perfect. I don't think they nail it every single time, but I generally tend to feel like they do it better than anyone else. But it's an acquired taste for sure. Like, it does have that, like, cringe humor that I know is, like, very difficult for some people to watch. Yeah. John Dorsey, good evening. Been a fan for a while. Oh, John, thank you so much. Heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. You said, good evening. Been a fan for a while. You become one of my favorite YouTubers ever. And I don't always agree with you, but your fairness, kindness, and diplomacy is a blessing. Don't ever stop. Well, thank you, John. As I've said numerous times, I hope, honestly, I hope that no one ever agrees with me 100%. That's, like, part of what I like doing what I do. Like, I don't come on this platform to state my opinion and have everyone regurgitate it back to me as if they agree with me. What I hope that my videos will do is, like, spark conversations and have you be like, oh, I never saw that way. Here's my way. And kind of we come to a consensus and a conversation within that and approach each other's viewpoints with kindness. And as best we can with respect. I can't respect every single viewpoint. There are certain viewpoints where I don't hold any respect for. I'm not saying that you hold them, John. But there are some that I don't. But I always try my best to, even with people whose viewpoints I don't respect, even though I try my best to respect as many as I can, that I always treat the person with respect and their humanity with respect. And try to, if I find someone's viewpoint harmful, to at least explain why and to respect that person behind that viewpoint, so I can show them and at least explain why I find their viewpoint harmful. And then when it's things like, oh, we disagree about TV shows, that I can, like, we can 100% have just, like, equally respectful views on things like that, or like on how best to approach different ideas in politics and social attitudes. Again, certain things notwithstanding that I can't, but that's always what I try to do, is try to be kind and welcome people into the conversation at all times, even when it's a difficult conversation. So thank you, John. I am very glad that comes through. So yeah. Heart to you, Sarah. By the way, Sarah, I know I shared it. Sarah, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Sarah, who gave a super chat, is the writer of the Costume Codex YouTube channel, and Sarah had an absolutely freaking amazing, like absolutely wonderful video that she released yesterday about Don't Look Up and the issues with Don't Look Up, and she has many greater points, but I think for those of you who haven't seen Don't Look Up, I actually like Don't Look Up. Generally, if you look at it less as a metaphor for climate change, is what everyone sort of directly relates it to. If you look at Don't Look Up as like a metaphor for our inability for today's society to deal with existential crises, not just like climate change, but something like COVID-19, the pandemic, I feel like it works slightly better than just a singular climate change metaphor, but one that's more for our existential crisis that our society just cannot handle dealing with that. However, while Sarah made other excellent points, the point that I think was most salient, that I think she displayed wonderfully in her video yesterday, was that Don't Look Up over individualizes systemic problems. I think the point that she made that was so great is, like, if you changed the president in Don't Look Up, if the president was not Meryl Streep's like pseudo Trumpian character, if you had a more proactive president who was willing to address the issue, then the problem would have been solved, right? Because at that one point in the movie, minor spoiler, there is a way, they have a way to solve the problem. They have the way to destroy the comet, and it's just stopped because the Trumpian type president decides to call it off at that last moment because she's listening to the capitalist, which is something that I think would happen, like a Trumpian type of politician would do. But but if you had a different president there, that wouldn't have happened. Whereas when we talk about climate change, it is a systemic problem that's not relegated to one individual, but entire system that does not wish to comprehend and reconcile with our issues with climate change. Same thing with the capitalist character. If you had a different billionaire in that situation, it would have fixed the problem of the film. And that's not what actually is the issue that we're facing. It's not the fact that we have specific billionaires. Hate is a wrong word, but I have many issues with Elon Musk and Bill Gates and all those people. But the issue isn't necessarily specific billionaires, even though I have specific problems with specific billionaires. But the problem is more that we have systems that creating billionaires. And Sarah, I think, just so wonderfully articulated that in her video, that I think was, just perfectly addressed that. So I say all of that because I want all of you to go and watch Sarah's video. I shared it on my community tab. It is very good. It is the best analysis of Don't Look Up that I have seen. To the point where I was considering me maybe I should do one because a lot of people are talking about it. I'm like, I don't think I could, if I was going to do a video, I would probably just regurgitate what Sarah did. And so I don't want to do that. I just say, go watch her video because her video is freaking amazing. So that's my take on it. So, anyways, you asked, sorry, I wanted to compliment you. Apologies. You asked me what's my favorite kind of humor. I actually don't know. I kind of like all different types of humor. I tend to generally like meta humor, and maybe that's my autistic brain kind of being loving to deconstruct things, because my brain tends to constantly being self-aware of stuff when I'm watching movies, how they break stuff down, and also as a film student, how they make movies and things like that. I tend to really like meta humor quite a bit, when films are meta-ly aware of stuff. That's why I kind of like horror comedies. I think horror comedies are actually some of my favorite movie genres. I love horror comedies because horror comedies generally are very self-aware of the tropes of horror and play with them and deconstruct them. That's why, and it's honestly, I think that's really why I love horror comedy so much, because horror comedy is almost exclusively meta. I don't think there are very rarely horror comedies that aren't some sort of meta reflection on horror and cinema as a genre generally. And so I think, honestly, probably, Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, Matthew Gray. Matthew Gray is absolutely perfect. Shaun of the Dead, horror comedy. And that is a movie that, deconstructs a lot of, zombie tropes, right? The whole movie is a meta commentary on zombie films and zombie tropes and sort of the schlubby, dude narrative that we get into. Cabin in the Woods, also a great example of that. Scream trilogy, also a great example of that. But speaking of which, I have a question for people that Scream, but I'll ask it in just a second. So, I feel probably meta comedy and horror comedy would be if I was going to pick a specific genre. I love horror comedy. What was the movie that I just watched? I watched a horror comedy. If by the way, I'll give people recommendations. I love giving recommendations of movies, by the way. There was a movie I watched just this weekend that was a horror comedy that I really loved. What was it called? Where was it? Oh, Happily. It was not perfect, but it was a movie starring Joel McHale, and it was these two characters, Joel McHale and I forget the other woman, they're a perfect couple that has no problems whatsoever, and everyone around them is you two are too perfect. And the film has such a clever meta take on why they're perfect, and it kind of goes down this creepy horror direction. Not a perfect movie, because I think its pacing is a little bit awkward, but I think it's a really, really great movie if you're looking for a fun horror comedy. Also, Stephen Root's in it, and he plays a fun character in there. So I would highly recommend that if you're looking for that. So yeah, that's my question. That's my probably answer to that question. Aw, Aaron, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. Thank you for being awesome. You're awesome. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you, Aaron. You are wonderful. Sending you love. You are wonderful. Let's see. Can someone explain in general what's wrong with England right now in regards to the transphobia, Aaron? That's a longer question. I'll give you some brief highlights. Right now, the main problem with, not the main, a specific issue with, a major issue with transphobia in the UK is that right now, the UK has a large problem with TERFism, trans-exclusionary radical feminists, who are quote-unquote feminists, usually upper class, not exclusively, but upper class white women who are framed as the opposing viewpoint to trans people quite often today in many UK spaces. That there's like, they see like, what's the best way? They basically have seen transness as a opposing viewpoint to feminism, an opposing viewpoint to cisgender women's sense, like, ability to identify as that. Sorry, my brain was not in a place to describe TERFism. Basically, TERFs are people that have sort of vilified trans people and dogmatically attack trans people. And they have a whole ideology that I've explained in numerous videos that kind of explains where that comes from, where they sort of have defined gender in sort of like rigid ways that they don't understand. It actually upholds systems of genders instead of actually deconstructs systems of genders that they seemingly wish to tackle. And because they have sublimated a lot of trauma onto trans people, they dogmatically attack trans people. Again, much more complicated. I could go into it. I've done numerous videos on it. My brain doesn't want to articulate it at the moment for some reason. So apologies that I'm not explaining it as best I can. But anyways, there's a large movement of these people in the United Kingdom, and they have permeated a lot of the conversation around trans people, both in politics and in academia, like colleges and things like that, college papers and things like that, and in journalism, most especially. And so the unfortunate thing with that is that when we talk about trans rights, there's a certain tendency to, like, journalism has this really bad problem of thinking that, like, the way to balance a conversation is to always have an opposing viewpoint to something, right? It says that we need to always have an opposing viewpoint. And that's not actually what, like, balanced journalism actually is. But what many journalists tend to think is like, oh, well, if we have someone talking about to have trans rights, we need to have the opposing viewpoint on, right? And so they platform TERFs constantly against trans people, that, like, when you have a trans person talking about trans issues, because trans identities have been so politicized, our basic lives have been so politicized, they see it like, well, since it's a political conversation, we need to have some opposing viewpoint, as opposed to just, like, having someone come on to talk about trans issues, because trans issues just can be talked about and don't need to have an opposing viewpoint because it's just trans issues. And so because of that, it has started to frame a debate around trans lives and trans issues constantly in media. And so that has been the major problem with the UK, that TERFs have just become so prevalent that they constantly get platformed against trans people, and they are so good at using misinformation and outright lies about the trans community that are informed by, like, bad studies, bad science, bad things like that, that it has sort of permeated a lot of the United Kingdom's rhetoric around trans people. The BBC being a perfect example of that. The BBC is probably the most egregious example that we see there, because they will constantly platform TERFs against trans people. And they've just recently, there was a protest recently of the BBC led by the wonderful Laura Kate Dale, who is a wonderful trans activist, who many people may know from her work in the video gaming industry. But she's also a wonderful trans advocate as well. She recently helped run a protest outside the BBC this past weekend, which was absolutely wonderful. And the BBC released a statement that kind of clearly showed this dynamic that I've spoken about. Their statement basically said that, like, well, if we had flat earther, because TERFs viewpoints are so prevalent, we need to platform them. If flat earthers were much more prevalent, we would platform flat earthers against scientists as well. That's something that they basically just stated in their statement to that protest, which kind of clearly shows my point, right? It's like, no, you don't platform flat earthers against science, because that frames the debate as like the answer somewhere in the middle between flat earthers and science. Like, no, when you talk about science, you just bring on scientists to talk about science, because that's just the facts of the case. That's the starting place, not the place for debate. And that's what we see in so much media today. It's why we have problems with anti-vaxxers and stuff like that. I mean, there's a larger conversation about anti-vaxxers, like vaccine hesitancy in marginalized communities and things like that, which is understandable for a lot of those conversations. But a lot of like politicized reasoning for anti-vaxxers is because we have that exact dynamic, right? That like there's vaccines versus like, if people's like, here's the science of vaccines, and then we have to have someone's like, well, actually vaccines, I think that drinking urine is just as good, which is something someone said. This has gotten to be a very political stream. I apologize, everybody. I love you all. I'm sorry. But I'll finish off this thought. It's like, no, you don't platform that. You just start that as a starting place. And so the BBC's response to the protest of their platforming of horrific turf views showcases that exact dynamic. And then you can just go back into turfism and explain why it's not something you want to platform. I mean, again, it's a dogmatic hate movement against trans people. So to platform a dogmatic hate movement against trans people as opposing to trans people, it says that there's an answer somewhere in the middle between accepting trans people and treating trans people like they need to be murdered and genocided, which is something some prominent turfs have said. It's like, the middle of accepting trans people and genociding trans people is not an acceptable middle ground. And that's why you don't platform those opposing views as against each other, because because it displays them as both equally having validity. And so that's the short version of transphobia in the United Kingdom. There is much more to it, but that is the basic quick version to give you a quick answer to that. So there you go. I hope that answered the question. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for letting me have that rant. I hope I answered the question. Man, politics today. I didn't mean to go into it, but there you go. All right, got another super chat I just saw here. John Vinnels, hard for you. Finch as in E. Finch, Greenbar as in Sam, and Katie Greenbrier. I'm sorry, John. I apologize. I really am sorry. Katie Green. What am I missing? You'll have to be more clear. I'm sorry, John. I love you and you are wonderful. But I'm actually not entirely sure. I'm just looking it up so I know. I don't know what you're referring to. I am so sorry, John. I love you and adore you. I am behind the ball on what you're... Gone Home? Is that what you're talking about? The video game Gone Home, which is a great game. That's what's coming up for me. Or are we talking about that game company's games? Because I remember the Finches. I'm sorry. I apologize, John. I love you. I adore you. I'm sorry if I'm missing something there. But next one, Chloe, heart to you. You are lovely. You said, had to deal with a Karen at work today. Super funny. My coworkers and I kept laughing about it after she left. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm glad you got a good laugh out of it, but Karens are not fun. They are sadly frustrating. Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Karens are frustrating. So I'm glad you at least got a laugh out of it. It's sometimes the best way we can do it, but there you go. Oh, someone said the Scream trilogy. Can I ask a question to the chat really quickly? I have only seen, I love horror comedy so much, but I'm bad because I have not watched all of the Scream movies. Like, the original Scream movie was, I've only seen the first 2 Scream films, because then I heard, like, Scream 3 is bad, and it's not as good. So I want to see Scream 3 and Scream 4, and then now Scream 5 just essentially came out. And hi, Blooming, Blossoming Desire, it's good to see you. So basically the question I'm asking is, should I see Scream 3 and 4 before I go and see the new Scream movie? Or can I go and see the new Scream movie without having seen 3 and 4? That's the basic question that I wanted to ask. Yeah, you don't need to see 3 and 4. They are based. They are bad. 3 and 4 are based. Okay, that's good to know, because I do want to see 3 and 4. I've heard 3 and 4 are good. Like, I heard 3 is the worst, but still not. It's the worst movie, but still good, which is always a good sign for a franchise when even your worst film is still decent. So I've heard 3 is the worst one, but still good, and then 4 is actually also really solid. And I've been hearing good things about 5, so I've been excited. So it's like one of those, like, I probably should, honestly, I should probably just, like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, I want to go and see a new movie, but it's like, well, why not just see 3 and 4? Save your money and then watch Scream when it comes out when it's cheaper. That's probably actually the smart move. Yeah, I'll probably just watch 3 and 4. Maybe I'll do that this weekend, actually. Maybe that'll be a good move. Watch Scream 3 and Scream 4. Actually, that might be a good plan, actually, for this way. Watch 3 and form your own take. Yeah, I'll probably watch 3 and 4 this weekend, now that I'm thinking about it, because I need, like, a good movie to watch this weekend. And that actually seems like a good move. But I also want to see new movies. Last like, new movie I saw not in theaters, I didn't go to theaters to see it, but, like, the last, like, major new movie that I saw was, Resurrections. Though, actually, another movie, sorry, I'll give another recommendation. I saw Coda. I think, Jedi Indiana Jones, I don't know if Jedi Indiana Jones is in the chat, but, because I know I saw Jedi earlier, but Jedi recommended the movie Coda, Child of Deaf Adults. It's a movie called Child of Deaf Adults. Wonderful coming-of-age movie. Absolutely wonderful. If you are looking for a really heartwarming, but, like, very, like, good coming-of-age film, go watch Coda. It's gotten a few nominations. I think it got nominated for a Golden Globe. I don't think it won, but it got nominated for a Golden Globe, I believe. And I cannot recommend it enough. An absolutely wonderful, wonderful, beautiful film. It's about a girl who her brother and both her parents are deaf, and they've been deaf for pretty much their entire lives, but she is actually hearing. And, like, they're also fishermen, and she gets into music. She wants to learn music and go to college for music. And so it's this whole journey about, like, the challenges of being a child of deaf adults face, but also the love that is in that type of family, and then also, like, her estrangement from her family because she is able to hear, even though she is part of that family as well. It's a really, really beautiful, beautiful movie. And if you're looking for a heartwarming, like, coming of age type of film, I cannot recommend Coda enough. I deeply, deeply enjoyed it. And Jedi Indiana Jones, I don't know if you're here, or if you're watching this live stream after the fact. Thank you for the recommendation. It was a really good movie to watch. I appreciate it. Oh, I've seen The Crow, Owen. I love The Crow. The Crow is a great movie. Love that film. All right, I'm sorry, I'm catching up on more. John Vinnels, was she wearing a hoodie? Again, I don't know what you're talking about, John. I love you. I'm giving you all the extra hearts because I'm failing at addressing your super chat. So, John, you are lovely. Mwah, my friend. Chloe, thank you so much for your super chat. Heart to you. You are lovely as well. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Talking about not being able to get a purse on sale, Karen, I've never felt so uncomfortable shopping before. Me, no chill. I've had to deal with transphobic customers. That's a frustrating. It's like, oh, the thing's not on sale. It's so it makes me so uncomfortable. Like, you're not entitled. Like, that's the problem with like the idea with Karens. And I hate generally using Karen, by the way. I mean, I get why we say Karens. Karens are Karens. They exist. But, like, it's the entitlement, right? That's the problem. It's, like, this sense that things should be the way that they want them because they want them that way, and the world should conform to what they wish rather than understanding that not everything in the world revolves around them. That's the issue with Karen. So it's like, oh, a purse isn't on sale, and so this is the world attacking me, when it's like, no, it's just not on sale. Or, like, this thing, you have to wear your mask indoors. Like, wear your mask. I'm sorry the world doesn't revolve around your wants and desires and needs and doesn't center on you, but that's what we'd call living in a society with other people. But yeah, because people have been so entitled to see the world as revolving solely around them, that's what we talk about when we talk about Karens. That sense of privilege and entitlement that seems to be often centered in upper white class women, like I feel like we also see that same dynamic in men more often. I think my uncomfortability with the Karen label is it does seem a slightly misogynist, not in that it's not inaccurately labeling a dynamic that we see with upper class white women, but that we feel like it's more societally acceptable to make a common meme out of like this when it appears in women, as opposed to the fact that it is a sense of entitlement that many in upper class groups and also a lot of men hold as well. Not vilifying men, but just like a sense of entitlement that we feel. I think that's where I have a slight uncomfortableness with Karen. Not that it's not like the phrase Karen, not that it's not accurate, but that we find it acceptable to label it on women and not just the ubiquitous issue of entitlement. But that's I think that's my uncomfortability with it. Not to say that Karens are good or that I'm okay with Karens. It's more just the fact that we only have an equivalent for Karen for women and not for men, I think is the issue there. So I'm catching up on Super Chats real quick. Alex, Carson, heart to you. Thank you so much for your Super Chat. You're absolutely lovely. Wow, thank you so much, my friend. I'm sure this was said early in the stream, and congrats on your Gene Roddenberry Star Trek video. Altered the phrasing to ensure the Super Chat went through, surpassing 100K views recently. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't know if anyone said that earlier. Yeah, I want to say thank you so much to everybody for having my Sex and Star Trek video surpass 100K views. I honestly did not anticipate that video. It was a 3-hour video about a niche topic within Star Trek. I did not expect that video to surpass 10K views. Like I was like, I'm passionate about this video. I want to make it. I'm going to make it very good because I'm passionate about it. And I know the algorithm isn't always kind to these types of videos, especially videos of this length. So I was like, I'm going to put it out because I want to, and people will like it or not. And the amount of success, I mean, I believe it needs 1 million views, if I'm being honest, but the level that it's hit right now is more than I expected. And I want to say thank you to everybody for that. Like 100K views on that video blows my mind. Especially after all the crap that video went through, like getting demonetized and flagged for over 18 and all that jazz. I won't rehash all of that YouTube drama. But with all of that, it still reaches that. Makes me so happy, especially since it's the first in a series. Speaking of which, oh, I don't know if you've seen it in the background. Wait, can I show y'all? So I'm getting props. So I'm getting ready to film. I haven't started filming yet. I have the script done. Script's finalized. So it's done, and I have my script for Sex and Star Trek Part 2 ready to film, and so I'm going to get filming it soon, but I'm getting all my props in order, and you may notice a certain thing. If you're a Trekkie, you'll know what this is, and you know what it means to display this. So let's just say I'm seeking Jamaharon people. So by the way, this is huge. I ordered this. This is bigger than my head. So just be aware that I now have a bigger than my head Horgan. So I'm definitely seeking Jamaharon. So be aware that this is going to be a prop in my next Sex and Star Trek video. I have a few other props for my Sex and Star Trek video. I actually have to test out some makeup soon. I need to get around to doing that before I film, so I know that the makeup works, because I have a certain cosplay for that video to do. So let's just say Sex and Star Trek Part 2 is going to be fun. We're going to have some fun with that. Yes, I do seek Jamaharon, Corey. I do seek Jamaharon. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm behind on a few super chats, so I'm just going to quick roll through so I can catch up on the chat here. But thank you, Alex, for all of that. I appreciate that. Mwah. Seamus Burke, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. You said, without trying to sound basic, love the outfit you wore in Sex and Star Trek. Glad the other room let you get away with that. Thank you, Seamus. I am glad to. Like I said, I tried to be very careful. Like, YouTube has specific rules about costumes and things, and while that video was definitely risque, and that video was definitely risque, or that outfit was definitely risque, I mean, it does not break YouTube's rules, because they allow, like, much skimpier outfits. So while I will be definitely doing more outfits like that in future videos that I will also have fun with, and I may have already bought, you're not going to be seeing me getting nude anytime soon. So just be aware of that. This is not OnlyFans. No judgment on OnlyFans, by the way. So there will be more risque outfits. So basically, long and short of it, if you're looking for more Jessie and risque outfits, you will be getting some. And some more Star Trek themed ones as well. So let's see. Let's just say there's a Star Trek. Let me just put it this way. I have thoroughly explored the Star Trek lingerie section on Etsy. I have thoroughly and completely explored that. So there you go. All right, catching up on more super chats. Making sure I didn't miss anything. There we go. John Vinnels again. Heart again. Apologies if I mess up. I expect the majority of British feminists feel about TERFs the same way most Muslims feel about Al Qaeda or Daesh. I don't know much about how Muslims feel about Al Qaeda in general. I don't know if that's an equivalent metaphor. To be fair, John, it's something I'd have to like think about harder. Yeah, I'd have to think about that harder. I feel like that's a very different dynamic because TERFs are awful, but Al Qaeda is sort of like a different thing and a different dynamic. So there's a vastly different history. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily agree with you on that. I'd have to like think about that in further, but yeah, I think it's a very different thing. Apologies if I say your name wrong, but Tarsana, apologies if I said that wrong, but Starkweather, heart to you, thank you so much, I appreciate you. After saying Kismet Craft Studios didn't send to the UK, I bought the Section 31 earrings. I am Section 31 to core. Oh no, Section 31! No, you're evil! Oh, Section 31, what a complicated moral conundrum there. I would love to explore Section 31 more. They keep saying they want to do a Section 31 series, which I'm curious about. I actually would be curious to see what a Section 31 show would be, like exploring the morality of something like Section 31 in the Federation. Like, obviously, I don't agree with Section 31 at all morally, but I think there are like interesting shades of gray that it sort of elucidates that I think would be interesting to discuss. So I actually would be curious to see that Section 31 show. I know a lot of people hated on the idea, but I'm somewhat more up on it than most people, so I'm kind of curious to see what that would be. Star Trek pasties. Every fairy dies. Yeah, let's do Star Trek pasties. Let's do Star Trek pasties. That would be kind of fun. Maybe I should do that. I'd have to figure out where I could get some. Alethea McLean, heart to you. Thank you so much to you. You're lovely. Thank you so much for the super chat. You said, hope you're doing well. As one stranger to another, just wanted to say, as a new viewer, I appreciate your work. It's very thoughtful and well done. Oh, well, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for being a new viewer. You are lovely, and thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the videos. Thank you. I appreciate that. You are lovely. Mwah, mwah, mwah. John Vinnels, heart to you again. I meant, was the Karen who troubled Chloe wearing a hoodie or standing near a boat? Oh, got you. Got you. Alright. Owen, heart to you, thank you so much. You said, got to go, and if you want to watch something new, might I recommend 2017 Power Rangers, like Breakfast Club with Dino Robots? Yeah, I actually really liked the new Power Rangers movie. It wasn't as bad as like a lot of people gave out. I think my problem with the new Power Rangers film, I actually liked the Breakfast Club aspect of it. I thought they like nailed that like teen angst. My problem with the movie is that like I wish it had a bit more fun in it. It was a little bit too dour and depressing for me. Like the movie was just like it kind of adhered to that like kind of not as far as this, but the Zack Snydering of blockbusters that were kind of happening around 2017, where like everything had to be like, I'm depressing and sad, and this means it's dark and deep. We're gonna take a very cheesy property from the 90s and 80s and make it depressing so that it's cool, and that's what cool means. That was my problem with it, and the only person that seemed to like understand the kind of movie that I wanted it to be was it Elizabeth Wilson? Or who was it? Who played Rita Repulsa? Who was the actress who played Rita Repulsa in that movie? Actress Elizabeth Banks. Elizabeth Banks was like the only person in that movie that seemed to understand the movie that I wanted the movie to be. to like kind of be fun. Yeah, thank you, Allie. I appreciate that. To kind of like have that like cheesiness. I'm not saying it needed to be like full on like 1980s, 1990s Power Rangers, like the original Power Rangers movie cheese. It didn't need to be like that cheesy, but it just had no sense of fun. And the only moment in the movie besides outside of Rita Repulsa, the only time in that movie where I actually like felt the energy that I wanted it to have was like when they got the Zords. When they got the Zords in the movie and the Power Rangers theme played and they were going, "Go, go, Power Rangers!" like flying through the air at one point. I'm like, that's the movie. I wanted this whole movie to have that energy, and it just didn't. And so it's not bad. I like the Breakfast Club feel to it. Like, I thought the characters are actually well written. The acting was very well done. I liked their connection. I actually really liked a lot of what that movie was doing. I just thought its tone was way too dour for what I wanted it to be. And so I feel like if it had just been a little bit more fun and up to the tone a little bit more, I feel like that movie actually would have been something special. As it stands, it's somewhat forgettable at the moment. But by no means bad. Like, I did not hate it. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I just think it's ultimately kind of forgettable when it could have been something kind of special. That's my hot take on it. Let me see. Heart to you, John Dorsey. Thank you so much for your super chat. You said, I asked in 2021, and now again, it's going to be a tradition now. Can I bother the esteemed lady of the house to wield the shield? Pretty please. Yes, I can go get it. You're going to see that I'm wearing pajama bottoms, so don't judge my pajama bottoms, everybody. I will go grab the shield for you, John. One second. Ow! Ah, ha, 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 ha. That was not smart. Don't do that. I am not coordinated. Welcome to my uncoordinated butt. But here. John, I banged my knee for you. Here you go. Here's the shield. I love the shield because like it does have the actual like straps that you can like strap in. So I can actually like Captain America strap this in. It's just kind of fun. I do enjoy the shield. The shield's a lot of fun. It's a little bit more plasticky than I would hope it would be. Like I wish it was like actually metal, but that would probably be really heavy. But it's like very hard plastic, but it's still pretty cool. I love this thing. It's one of my favorite toys that I got. As I hurt myself to do that. Get that woman a shield so she won't bump her leg. I know, I'm just wearing Harley Quinn PJs. You can judge me. Let's see. Nerps for Jerks, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. You said, ma'am, I just want to thank you for being beautiful self and giving confidence to other trans women. Oh, well, I'm thankful. Thank you. I'm very glad. I'm glad that I can be of any help to giving confidence to other trans people. My hope is that I can help do that for others because people did that for me. I'm working out right now. Not the video that's coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow's video I have something a bit personal. Tomorrow's video is going to be a bit of a personal video. But the video I'm working on currently right now that I'm editing is my Matrix Resurrections video. So I'm doing an analysis of Matrix Resurrections, and it's currently sitting at 1 hour and 20 minutes. So you get an 1 hour and 20 minute analysis of Matrix Resurrections in before the end of the month. But in that video, one of the things that I talk about was how the original Matrix was important to me and to a lot of other people, a lot of trans people, because while it did not have explicit trans representation, what was important about it is it gave the feeling of a trans film and allowed many trans people who saw the film to have the words to express what it felt like to be trans. This feeling that something was wrong, but you didn't know how to say it. And because it gave trans people that language, it was such an important film because it gave verbalization to a feeling that many trans people felt on the inside. And that's just important, like to just see someone verbalize feelings that you're feeling, because you may feel something, but you just don't know how to say it. And so I hope that I am able to do that for other people in the same way that people did that for me. And I'm just reciting things that people told me. And so it's just sort of passed down in that way. So I'm by no means special in that. I don't mean to aggrandize myself. I'm just more saying that, like, I am hopefully part of a legacy of that. A very long legacy that existed well before the Matrix. So it existed all the way through all of human history. So yeah, I hope that's a legacy that I am doing justice, I guess is the best way to put it. Heart to you, John, again. You said, for the record, Gone Home and What Remained of Edith Finch both take place in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, they do, which is why I love those games. I mean, not why I love those games, but I love the Pacific Northwest. Pacific Northwest is I live here. It's one of my favorite places to be, favorite places in the world. I absolutely adore the Pacific Northwest. Some of the most beautiful places I've ever lived and been, so. I adore the Pacific Northwest. Heart, thank you so much, Jennifer Day. Thank you for helping me resolve the Discord thing. What's your favorite Star Trek era and why in the universe? Yes, happy. I'm assuming you asked me for the Discord link on Patreon. Yes, I'm happy to have helped with that. What's your favorite Star Trek era and why in universe? Favorite era? Ooh. I mean, the easy answer is the 24th century, obviously, because that's like where we have the most fleshed out universe of the Star Trek. I mean, it's when TNG, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager all took place. But I'll give it like a hot take and say I actually really like the Enterprise era. I mean, obviously I love Star Trek Enterprise, but I think there's a lot of potential in the 22nd century era of Star Trek, because like that's the era where you do see like the most turmoil in this like imperfect humanity trying to build the Federation. People hate on the way the Vulcans were portrayed in the beginning of Star Trek Enterprise. I love that. I actually love the way the Vulcans were displayed in the beginning of Star Trek Enterprise, because I like that they're jerks, and I like that they're imperfect, and we see a gradation of them evolving. Same thing with the Andorians, same things with the Tellarites. Like the versions of these Star Trek species that we like know so well, like the back of our hand, evolving in different ways. I think the only species that really didn't get a good development at that era of Star Trek was the Klingons. I think the Klingons were kind of portrayed as like dumb idiots in Enterprise era, and I think that you could have shown something much more interesting with the Klingons in the 22nd century, like what they were like before they encountered like the Federation. So I think that's one major disappointment. Everything else, I actually really love that era of Enterprise, and honestly, I my secret hope and wish is that, minor spoiler for Star Trek Discovery Season 3, but in Star Trek Discovery Season 3, they have Empress Georgiou go back in time. And they don't reveal where, because presumably she's going back in time to do whatever the Section 31 show spinoff that she's going to be in is going to be. And so I have a secret hope and wish that the Section 31 spinoff is not going to be focusing on Ash Tyler in the 23rd century, the TOS era, but that it's actually going to be set during the 22nd century, because we know Section 31 kind of pseudo-existed before the Federation, as we see in Star Trek Enterprise, but then gets like codified into the Federation Charter. And so it would be really, really cool is if they sent her back in time to the 22nd century and she helps found that version of Section 31, and that would also allow us to have guest stars from Star Trek Enterprise characters. You could have Scott Bakula back as Archer. You could have Jolene Blalock back as T'Pol. You could have Connor Trinneer back as Trip Tucker. I would love, and then you get to see the start of the Federation, but also the dark underbelly at the center of the start of the Federation. That seeing the Federation wasn't always perfect right from its inception. I think would be so cool. That if I had to pitch a Section 31 series, that would be my pitch for a Section 31 series. Go back to see the founding of the Federation and Section 31 being developed alongside of that. I think is like my pitch for a Section 31 show. And see that would be, I think, a really cool idea. Oh, I'll check out some of his novels, Ali. Thank you so much for letting me know. I need to read less Eurocentric novels. I've been trying to break out. I've been reading a lot of. I mean, like most of my reading is very Eurocentric, and even like American and European. I very rarely have read like a lot of. I know there's a lot of like really great magical realism writers from Mexico and Latin America that I really want to dive into, and I need to read more Iranian writers too. So that is something I'll check out. I will check out. I'm sad to see that he passed away. So thank you for letting me know. And then, all right, catching up on the last two super chats here because it is almost time for me to run away. Emily Walker, hard to you say. Sorry to have been this desperate. I'm new to these live streams. I know you're a DC lady, but have you seen No Way Home? What did you think? I like No Way Home. I really like No Way Home. I think I did a review of No Way Home. If you're curious, I did a review on my secondary channel. My opinions evolved a little bit since then. I think it's a really solid movie. I think it does rely a little bit too much on previous knowledge of past films of the MCU, like nostalgia-y things, like knowing these arcs, and I do think some of the arcs aren't paid off as well. Like specifically, like Electro's arc could have been a little bit better in the movie. Sandman is just superfluous, so is Lizard in that movie. But I do think Alfred Molina and Green Goblin are used really, really well and balanced really, really well. Without spoiling, the surprise cameos in that movie of the two people that we're thinking of, I think were also really, really effectively done, and like completed those characters' arcs really, really well, and like gave us little tidbits of those characters that I think we were all yearning to see. And I think it was really, really wonderful. There's also some clear pandemic issues that affected that, like clearly some green screen work that affected some of the shots. And I am excited at the end of that movie, because the end of that movie seems to set up Spider-Man to be like the Spider-Man that we've always known Spider-Man to be, rather than the MCU's sort of more aggrandized and more like upper tier Spider-Man. And famous Spider-Man, whereas the end of the movie sort of sets him up to be like the Spider-Man that we've always kind of known Peter Parker to be. So I really like No Way Home. I think it has issues. I think it's a bit too intertextual and nostalgia baity, and I think that's not a problem with the movie. It's more a problem with our society in general nowadays, being too much past oriented rather than future focused. But that being said, I think it's overall a really strong film. I really adored it. I think it's definitely the best. I really like Homecoming. I hate No Way Home. I hate Far From Home. I'm not a fan of Far From Home at all. I do like Homecoming quite a bit, mostly on the back of Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's great in that. But I would probably say No Way Home might be the best. I might give the edge to Homecoming. Still, Spider-Man 1's the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is still my personal favorite. Though Spider-Man 2 is great, obviously, too. But I have a little bit of affection for the first Spider-Man. It's my personal favorite. And then Hard to You, B. Arthur, thank you so much for your super chat. You said, can we agree that Lower Decks Season 3 cannot come soon enough? Agreed. I want Lower Decks Season 3. I think I just saw a tweet from Mike McMahon the other day that said that he had just finished directing an episode of Season 3 of Lower Decks. So, exciting to hear that. Also, did anyone else hear? They did the thing that I've always wanted them to do. If you've been following me for forever, they finally did the thing. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. This made me so excited. They announced a Star Trek audio drama adventure starring Jerry Ryan and Michelle Hurd, who plays Raffi in Star Trek Picard. They're doing a Star Trek Picard audio drama adventure with the actors, like a Big Finish, like Doctor Who Big Finish style audio adventure, which is what I've always wanted Star Trek to freaking do. And hopefully this is the first of many, because I wanted them to do. And now all I want right now is to please beg, if anyone knows who is working on that, how do I get a job on it? More than anything, I would love to work on Star Trek audio dramas, and they are now doing Star Trek audio dramas. So please, I'm begging you, if anyone knows, I don't like asking for help or on jobs or anything like that, but legitimately, I will do it for this one. If anyone legitimately knows how to get a job working, I don't care if I'm like a PA, working on Star Trek audio dramas, I will do anything for you. I will do anything. Please. I will lick the boots of the voice actors in the voice acting booth if that is what the job entails, because I want it so bad. So that's my one thing. I'm very excited about it. Please, I want to do something for that. I want it more than anything. So yeah, look for that. I'm going to be very excited about that. All right. Wrapping up these last super chats, because I have to go, because I actually have a few things to do this evening, because life is hectic. But yeah, I'm going to quick answer these super chats, and then I have to head out, everybody. But I'll do quick announcements after that, so stick around for just a second. But Abracadaverous, heart to you, still love your name. Sorry I've been missing your streams lately. My sleep is all messed up. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well, Abracadaverous. You're lovely. Mwah, 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 my lovely friend. Hard for you, every fairy dies. Buy a beer and raise a glass to my first niece / nephew / maybe NB few. And for surviving 2021, here's to 2022. Can't wait for your great content. Well, thank you, every fairy dies. Mwah. You are lovely and wonderful, and I adore you. S-Tomp 10. If Harry Potter fought Doctor Strange, who would win? Probably Doctor Strange, unless you like count his being a chosen one in Harry Potter's corner. But I would probably say Doctor Strange. He seems to have more strong. They're both wizards, and Doctor Strange has like the ability to go through multiverses and like destroy galaxies and see the future and all that jazz, and Harry Potter seems to stumble his way through life, stumble his way into success. So I would say, not that Doctor Strange isn't a privileged dude who stumbled his way into success too, but that's a different story. I would probably say in a fight, Doctor Strange would probably win. I think his power set's a little bit stronger than Harry's, and his confidence and skill is higher than Harry's. So I would say Doctor Strange in a fight, probably. So yeah, but yeah, that's everybody. Yeah, both have problematic creators. That is true, Movie Meister. Okay, couple quick announcements before I head out, you lovely folks. Tomorrow, video going up. Let me quick share the link to it, because the video tomorrow is kind of a personal video. It's called How to Feel Sexy as a Trans Woman. It's going to actually the first of a 2-part series. The second part I've already filmed, but I'm going to be editing. It's going to take like a month or 2 to get out. So we'll sort of see whether the second part of this or second part of Sex and Star Trek comes first, but I'm sharing the link in the chat. But that video is going up tomorrow. It is a video discussing, how to feel sexy and how to feel comfortable in your body. And so this first part is just a personal discussion of my journey coming to understand my own sense of self and gender throughout my first like 18-20 years of life. And so that's what it's going to be about, like sort of discussing my own personal relationship in relationship to the performance of gender. And then the second part will be more about like talking about sexiness and how sexiness is gatekept from trans people, how trans people are often gatekept from feeling sexy in our lives. That'll be part 2, but that probably won't be coming for another month or 2. So I'm very excited about that video. It's a very personal video. It should be a lot of not fun, but this one's less theory and more just personal storytelling, whereas part 2 will be much more theory and discussion and breaking down harder topics. So that's coming tomorrow. Saturday, I'll be doing Saturday, Lucian, my best friend Lucian, is going to be joining me on the gaming stream. He's going to be coming and just chatting while I play some video games Saturday night. So, we'll be doing my Saturday night drunk stream, but Lucian will be there having fun with us. So that'll be a bunch of fun. And then 2 weeks from now, so the video going up tomorrow, and then 2 weeks from now will be the Matrix Resurrections analysis that I'm currently in the middle of editing. So, look for that. So with all that said, that's everything. Just last 2 super chats here. Mountain Harpy, heart to you. Thank you so much for the newt little picture there. And Edward Bedor, heart to you. I'm sorry you're having a bad day. You're lovely. Edward, before we go, everyone send some love to Edward, because Edward's having a very bad day. Edward, you are lovely and wonderful and amazing, and I adore you, and thank you for being part of this community. Please, everyone, give some hearts to Edward before we leave the chat. I adore you, Edward. I adore you, everyone. You are lovely. Sending you all love. Mwah. I will see you all tomorrow for the video, and I'll see you all Saturday for the stream with Lucian. Until then, I bid you a wonderful good night. Love you all, and love you specifically, Edward. You're wonderful.